Today on Spread the Word Nerd, something a little different, a little history on why Christians hate or maybe are afraid of Dungeons and Dragons. So I called my dad today and I asked him, why couldn't I play Dungeons and Dragons as a kid? You know what his response was? It's satanic. It's evil. It's bad. I'm paraphrasing, but still, it was awful. Couldn't play it. Why do Christians think that? Where's that belief come from? It's a game with some paper and some dice. Why do they think it's satanic? Well, here's why. Remember back in the late 70s, early 80s when there wasn't an internet? Well, I don't. I wasn't born yet. But back then, it was simpler. You didn't have the internet to fact check everything the news told you, and you just took everything you heard or read at face value, and you believed it. In 1979, James Dallas Egbert was a 16-year-old who wanted to kill himself. So he went down into some steam tunnels beneath his college campus. That's right, he was 16 and in college. Pretty smart kid. But for whatever reasons, there have been anything from mental illness to overbearing parents. He went down there and didn't try to kill any ogres. He didn't try to kill any other monsters. In reality, he just wanted to kill himself, and he tried to overdose on some pills. But he must not have done too great of a job. I guess you could say maybe he rolled a low score, like a 1. But he failed, and then he spent a month at a friend's house, and in the pursuing investigation, it came out that he liked Dungeons and Dragons, thus ruining it for every kid who ever wanted to play it, because, you know, people don't really need personal responsibility. They need to blame it on something else. Oh, and James Egbert, he did successfully kill himself. Now let's fast forward to the year 1982. A guy by the name of Tom Hanks starred in a TV movie called Mazes and Monsters. So Tom Hanks plays this kid who goes with some friends down into some caves to play a live-action version of Mazes and Monsters, which, let's be honest, is a ripoff of Dungeons and Dragons. But Tom went a little crazy, got a little too into it, ran off, they couldn't find him. Sounds kind of familiar to the James Egbert story. Anyway, he went crazy, TV movie, mass hysteria followed. Also in 1982, the son of a woman named Patricia Pulling killed himself, which is a bad deal. I mean, it's not funny. There's no jokes to be made there. Her family sued the people who currently owned Dungeons and Dragons, TSR, but they lost the lawsuit. So then she founded a group called BAD. BADD. Bothered about Dungeons and Dragons. It was a one-man group, or I should say a one-woman group. Patricia was the only member. But she would go on the news and any place that would let her have a microphone and talk about how evil and satanic Dungeons and Dragons was. And then there's Chick Tracts, which taught that basically any board game that involved wizards or witches was preparing people to join the occult. That's right. Playing Dungeons and Dragons, according to Chick Tracts, would lead automatically to you being a devil worshiper. So to recap, basically, one reason a lot of Christians don't like Dungeons and Dragons is because they've been misinformed. They also aren't applying personal responsibility to people who've done something awful and then want to blame a tabletop board game with miniatures, some dice, and some paper. And American society itself is getting that way. We don't want to blame the person who commits the crime. We want to blame his parents, or we want to blame the gun, or we want to blame a flag. And I'm not trying to get political. I'm just saying we have to stop doing that. People in general have to stop doing that, not just Christians. If we're going to move forward as a society, we need people to accept responsibility for what they do and stop hiding behind dice, guns, flags, whatever. It's getting ridiculous.